Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today is the day 5 of DIY Farmhouse Buffalo Check mason jars. We're going to use a quart-size mason jar from Kerr, but you can pick any one you want. And today we're going to use this aqua spray paint from Rust-Oleum. It's the 2x cover. I love the color. We're also going to use some white chalk paint that we're going to mix our own shades with. We're going to use a little bit of the spring green, as well as some of the true navy blue by Apple Barrel, both by Apple Barrel. And then you're going to need a foam sponge brush that you can cut up, that you're willing to sacrifice. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to spray paint the jar. Now I like to spray paint them upside down. Just make sure that you not concentrate, but make sure you do pay attention to the threads in the neck and make sure you get good coverage on that. I like to give it one quick coat on, turn the whole project around and get one quick coat on the other side. Now if I was just painting mason jars, I would probably put 2 coats. This is 2x covered, so it doesn't necessarily need it if you are if you get good coverage the first time, like if you don't have any holidays. But since we're going to do adding sponge painting to this, we're not going to need to make it totally thick coats, okay? So as you can see here, we've got really good coverage on it. Now it's not quite aqua, I have to tell you, and it didn't match the cap color. But because this was the paint that I used to make Lisa's VW bug, I knew what it was going to look like when it was done. It just painted a little darker than I really thought it was going to, than it even had on the VW bug. So what we're going to do is we're going to really just freehand our checkerboard, our buffalo check. Okay, so again, I'm trying to find that seam on the jar to keep my, well, right now the jar looks like it's a horizontal stripe, but the vertical line, I'm just going to use that seam of the jar, and I'm going to rest the square up against it. And then what I did was I took a scrap piece of paper and stamped it. And I'm using that as like the negative space to show me how far apart to leave for the alternating squares. All right. And then you can use that same piece of paper to space from the between the different columns. And again, rows go horizontally, columns go vertically. Thank you, Microsoft. But anyway, so what we're doing is we're just going to freehand space it. There's no measuring on this one. There is just, you know, stamp and go. We're just going to stamp a darker color and the white. Now, I am so sorry that I have no idea what happened to the video of me creating this paint color. So I extremely am apologetic. But what I did was, and all I did was, I created spring green chalk paint. I did it for St. Patrick's Day. I used it in a previous video, the video from yesterday. And then what I did was I took some of the spring green chalk paint and I added navy blue to it a little at a time to get this perfect shade of aqua. So aqua, like turquoise, is a blue-green. It's just a matter of which is more blue and which has more green, depending on how you mix it. So you always want to add your darker paint to your light paint. So the spring green chalk paint is lighter than the navy blue. So I slowly added a couple of drops at a time, mixed it. Then what I would do is I would tap it on the glass. Now this spray paint washes really easy. It's not like testing it on chalk paint. So I tested it on the glass to check its value, and it was kept mixing until I got the exact color that I wanted. Now this is the darkest color. The spray is the medium color. And this is just an option. You can always go ahead and make something lighter. But like I said, when you look at the cap, it really looked like it was going to be a very light blue. But it really did come out as dark as it looks on camera, is how it looks in real life. And I know it's not super dark, but I really expected a much paler color. Let's just put it that way. All right. So you want to do, continue across. I started the dark squares on the bottom row so that they would start at the edge of the glass. And then I left a space, and then above it, directly above it, and then a space, and then directly above it. And then I continued all the way around. You can use your little card or whatever little piece of paper you have. You could also do 2 sponges. If you cut 2 1-inch square sponges, you could actually do your row of darks and then your row of whites and then your row of darks, or alternating back and forth like a checkerboard, okay? So once I have all of the darks done, and how I did that last row, I realize now I'm going to share with you how I did the last row. Because I didn't draw out and measure, what I did was I did all of the rows up until the last row. And then I eyeballed the space between the first row and the last row that I had done and tried to land that square right in the middle of it. So it might be off by hairs of an inch, like an eighth or a quarter of an inch, but you really won't be able to tell once you have it all completely finished. Now, on the sample, it looks like, on the thumbnail, it looks like very uneven. It was the look that I was going for this particular jar, but it's easily cleaned off of this spray painted jar if you don't want that sort of hand painted look, okay? You can either scrape it gently with like a tongue depressor, or you can wipe it off while it's still wet and get that nice square edge. You just take a very lightly damped paper towel, you fold it so that you have a nice clean edge, and you just run it across wherever you want to wipe away, all right? Now right there, I just used my clean finger to get a straight clean edge. Just make sure that you wipe your finger off so that you don't get paint transference. But now we're just going to go and add the white. This is just the big jar of white chalk paint that I made. I'm dipping right in the lid, dipping off on the paint mat because you want to get even coverage on your sponge. And then because the square is a little bit bigger than the sponge, I'm using one of the edges to do basically all 4 edges. I'm hitting one corner and then turning it and pivoting it to get all 4 corners stamped. And that's just an option. Again, if you use any other stamps, if you use a stencil, if you paint with tape, if you do any of the other methods, you won't have to do that, obviously. But this is just to show you this this technique. And as you can see so far, this is the shortest video. This is the fastest technique. Even including letting the spray paint dry, or actually even including spray painting it, because letting it dry, I did let it dry overnight anyway, just because of my schedule. But even including spray painting it, this whole project was about 15 minutes. So not even, I think it was like 12 or something. Okay. Because I don't have to tape and I don't have to measure, and I'm not doing anything special, the only time waiting was for me to wash the sponge between coats. I didn't have to wait for the blue to dry before I sponged the white. And I know it looks so weird and uneven, but I love it. It kind of reminds me of fabric. You know, sometimes when you decoupage fabric, the grain gets pulled. I don't know why, it's weird. But that's it. Hi, everybody. I hope you really enjoyed the blue mason jar, and hopefully you enjoyed the series so far. There's only one more day, purple tomorrow, and then we're going to do the final of how we dress them for the different holidays. So I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions at all, leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to share with friends and family, anybody you know might be interested in making this one or any one in the series. And if you haven't yet, click subscribe, and when you do, a little bell will pop up. When you ring that bell, YouTube will let you know whenever I upload a new video. And don't forget to stop by our vlog channel and check out everybody's chatting over there. And as always, you take care, God bless, and we'll see you next time. Bye.